Hey guys, how's it going? This is a video I am doing to compare two different methods of exposing for S-Log 2 and 3 with my LUTs. Method 1 is the traditional way of overexposing two stops. It's the most common method that I see advocated online. And the second method is my method, which is a fair bit different. And it is more closely aligned with how I designed the LUTs to be used. Anyway, we'll get into the demo. So this is a scene I shot the other day, a test scene. Super sunny day, my wife and son are under the shadow of my house. The rest of the background here is lit up by direct sunlight. Super high dynamic range scene. We've got two clipping sections of the image here and here, this footpath and these clouds you can see with the RGB parade. Otherwise we've retained the rest of it. So this is what happens when you put my Alexa neutral LUT directly on that footage. This is what you get. Now 70% IRE, that's what I set the skin tones at. So the brightest parts of the skin tones would peak at 70%. And obviously if you're monitoring with my LUTs on set, your eye is going to tell you, it looks a bit overexposed. And that's because the LUT isn't expecting overexposed footage, it's expecting properly exposed footage for ISO 2000. So, or whatever it is that your native S-Log camera is, your native ISO is for your S-Log camera. So obviously this is the traditional method. You bring this down in post, you correct it in post, and this is the image you get. And that's a nice image. These clipping points, because of the highlight roll-off of the LUTs, they look nice. They're not jumping out at me. I'd be happy with that image. It's a very nicely balanced image. And you know, it looks great. So that's method 1. Method 2 takes a different approach. You know, as much as I like this image, I personally love highlight room, and I also like a clean image. So can you have both? Can we get back these highlights but still end up with the same looking image and with clean shadows? Well, the answer is yes, you can, by using my method of exposure, and this is what I do. So what I essentially did was I dropped my zebras to 50% IRE, and by the way, all of these ratings, IRE ratings, I'm saying for the log footage. I didn't put the LUT on and then set it to 70. I took the LUT off and exposed the log to 70 or to 50, just to be clear. So drop the zebras to 50%, expose the brightest parts of the skin to 50, and then this is what happens when you put the LUT on, no extra correction. This is just direct, straight out of camera with the LUT on. This is what you get. That's the image. So obviously it looks very similar to the corrected image. What's the difference? Well, the difference is we have all of this highlight detail retained. We get an extra 2 stops in the highlights, and we aren't having lots of noise problems in the shadows. I'll show you with the LUT off. You can see we've retained every skerrick of detail in this super bright, super high dynamic range scene. We haven't lost anything, and that is what it looks like when you put the LUT on. So essentially that's my method. These LUTs are designed to work to this exposure. I never go, in terms of the IRE ranges, I never go below 50, so I'd never go lower than 50 for skin tones. I'd never go higher than 65. S-Log 3, it's 55 to 65. I'll leave these figures in the description of the video. Play around within that range, 50 to 65, if you want to expose my way. Sometimes I will go up to 65. I wouldn't do it on a day like this, but maybe in an indoor scene, maybe for a comedy scene. You know, there are certain circumstances that call for a little bit of a brighter look. You know, and that's about a little over a stop overexposed, but I won't ever go any higher than that, because I like having my highlight headroom retained. And see, this is the other thing when you think about achieving the Alexa look or achieving the film look, which I make LUTs for both of those looks. It isn't just about taking your normal S-Log footage and putting a LUT on it. The idea with my workflow is to actually shoot differently and also apply the LUTs. So when you shoot this way, you're going to get closer to the Alexa look, not just because of the colors and the look that the LUTs give, but also because you've shot differently, trusting the LUTs are going to give you this image, and you've shot differently and you've exposed down, so you do have that highlight room, which is part of what makes Alexa look like Alexa, all that highlight room they have. 7 stops over middle grey. So the question is, are these shadows noisy? Are they, you know, is this image cleaner? And the short answer is yes. This image is a little bit cleaner. I'm not going to lie. 70% 2 stops overexposed is cleaner. But it's negligible. To my eye, I can barely see any noise here. I see a slight bump with the LUT applied. Here, let it roll through again. And, that trade-off, to get an extra 2 stops in the highlights, I'm happy to get a little bit more grit in the bottom of the image. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of the super clean, digital, clinical look of modern digital cameras. So I maybe have a bias for tolerating this, but it's not hard to tolerate. Honestly, I'll let it roll, let it play through. You can see it's very clean. Now, I shoot this way 100% of the time. I'm a professional freelance cinematographer. I never have had a single complaint from anyone that I've given the footage to, any editor, any grader, color grader. They've never complained about the noise in the image when they use my LUTs. It's one of the great perks, one of my favorite perks of my LUTs. And it's the reason we can expose this way. They really handle noise really, really well with S-Log. There's a few reasons for that. I'm on my 9th generation of my LUTs, so I've done a lot of testing, a lot of tweaking. And it's kind of, in some sense, my secret sauce. I'm not going to give it all away, but it's got something to do with variable saturation in the shadows, the mids, and the highlights. It's also got to do with the fact that, without going into too much detail, the lower third of the image is exposed a little lower than the mids, and the highlights. So, you're sort of getting the benefit of, having a one-stop underexposed compensation LUT in these LUTs without having the whole image underexposed. And you still get a really natural look. Like, to me, that looks it's a great starting point for a grade. It's really natural. And if you've seen my LUT videos, you've seen that that's consistently what these LUTs do. They give you a very natural image right off the bat. And all of my online footage, my showreel, my LUT promo videos, all of that footage is exposed and shot this way. Just to give you an idea, if you want to go look at more than just this one image of how this method applies, you can go look at that. So yeah, now it's easy to, I can hear you saying, yeah, but it's a sunny day, of course there's not a lot of noise. Oh, just one other thing on that note, actually. Again, I find that if you ever, the LUTs will make most of your noise disappear if you shoot at native ISO, that is. But, and I'm going to go into more depth about this in another video, but then if you do get a little bit of noise left over, it kind of looks, it's like halfway between noise and film grain to me. It's not distracting at all. It's very pleasing, and it's not like gross RGB film, video noise. So yeah, if you're thinking, yeah, of course this is a clean image at 50 IRE, it's a sunny day. I got some other footage here I wanted to show you where I shot underexposed. One night, it was in Melbourne's Fed Square. It was raining on concrete. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like with the LUT off. Okay, now watch how much it doesn't affect the image that much in terms of exposure. Turn the LUT off. You turn the LUT back on. Okay, it doesn't crush the shadows. You still can see you still retain all your shadow detail. You can see into the depths of S-Log. And it actually looks a lot more natural than the log image. That doesn't look natural. That wasn't what I was seeing with my eye on the night. That was a lot closer to it. Another example is here. You take the LUT off. Are you losing anything in the shadows you'd want to retain? No, it's not crushing the exposure. It's not crushing the shadows at all. It's just creating actually a much more natural look than S-Log. This is a great example here. Look at this image here. It looks like Blade Runner to me. That's with the LUT on. Now that already is a very underexposed image, okay? You can see here, but apart from these highlights here, all of these lights, it's all below 40 IRE. Now when you can barely see any detail in the shadows even with the log. And again, this doesn't look like what I saw with my eye, so this is not a natural looking image. But even with the LUT on, which I think makes it a lot more natural, you can still retain all this shadow detail. You can still see the difference here between in the contrast. You can still see into these shadows, and as we go along, as it rolls along, you can see a guy walk in. And he's a silhouette, but you can still see low contrast details here. LUT off, LUT on. So I think these LUTs, one of the things I'm really proud of is you can use them in all lighting scenarios. You can use them sunny days. You can use them in low light. You know, in a sense, the idea is like for people that like shooting with Cine 4, Cine 1, all of these Cine gammas. The idea is that you just make it look good on the day, and it's going to look good in the edit. Not going to be noisy. That's essentially the workflow that these LUTs allow you. If you have a monitor and you monitor with these LUTs, you just make it look like this on the day. You just make it look like that on the day. You just go, oh yeah, that looks good. And you don't have to worry about, oh, when I get home, it's going to be absolutely full of noise. It won't. It's going to be buttery smooth, creamy, and natural looking. And that's what it's going to look like. If it looks like that on your monitor, that's what it's going to look like when you get home to edit. All of this is easier when you have a monitor, so if you don't have a monitor, I would strongly urge you to consider investing in one. It's one of the best investments you'll ever make. It'll make its money back very, very soon, in my opinion. And it just makes this whole workflow easier. Again, if you don't have a monitor, you can use these Zebra IRE ratings, which I'm going to leave in the description of the video. And you know, through trial and error, you'll figure this process out. I'm just checking my notes, see if I've missed anything else. Yeah, just as a, you know, for any FS7 users, the idea is with my method, you would be actually shooting at EI mode 2000, like you want your ISO at native 2000, because like I said, because of the design of the LUTs and the gamma curve and everything else, it will be as though the shadow part are exposed at about 1000 to 1250 ISO, and the rest will be exposed at 2000. That's basically one of the key reasons that we can expose this way. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hope that clears everything up. And again, remember, you can still use method 1. Okay, you can still get great results. If you don't trust me, if you're really terrified of noise, you really don't like noise, you want a super clinical clean image, you can expose with method 1 and you'll get great results. I would just say, if you go out and test my method, even if you, because I'm telling you, these shadows are still really clean, really buttery smooth, and very, very usable. And for that extra 2 stops in the highlights, man, dude, it is it's a great compromise. And yeah, if you own the LUTs, go out and test this for yourself. If you don't believe me, if you don't own the LUTs and you're on the fence, just like I said, go back and you can look at my body of work online and see for yourself and draw your own conclusions. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Catch you later.